This is Cheesy. Today we're going to talk about AutoCAD 2D dimension tools in details. We're going to talk about how the different types of dimension, how to dimension complex drawing, how to dimension machine drawings, how to dimension engineering drawings, how to make it presentable in the engineering world. Please, I want you to enjoy the videos. Thank you. This is a video for dimension toolbar, dimension, how to dimension your drawing in AutoCAD. Of course, after you finish making your drawings, your necessary designs and all that, it's required that you dimension your drawings. It's required that you dimension your drawings so that the construction personnel or the vendor or whomsoever is going to know what and what you're talking about, the message you're passing along, in the drawing, so they can, if it is an installation process, if it is a purchasing process, maybe it's a fabrication process, they will know what to do. So there is dimension. That's how important dimension is. A drawing, maybe engineering drawing, architectural drawing, or fabrication drawing, or machine drawings. So we're going to start up this here, right here. I'm going to signify it. This here, right here, is our dimension toolbar. Of course, you can drag it. You can drag it and maybe drop it wherever you want. In your drawing, you can drop it maybe on the left or on the right hand side. So here we're going to start up right now. This is the linear dimension. This is aligned dimension. We're going to go through everything on this toolbar. So this here is a drop down menu for dimension. If we didn't talk about anything here, we're going to come here and cover it. So this is a drop down menu. It's like a shortcut, okay, so we'll start. This here is a linear dimension. It's for linear dimensioning. If I want to dimension a linear object on my AutoCAD interface, either a horizontal or vertical. Here, this is a horizontal. Remember, our unit is in inches. So it's saying if you select the linear dimension, it will ask you to specify first extension lines. And also, I want to remind you, remember, for you to start dimensioning, you must have set your dimension textile. Your dimension textile. We've already done a video on the dimension textile, so I want you to go back to the dimension textile and see how to set a proper dimension textile before you can start dimensioning on your drawing. So we click on our linear dimension with the properties we have, with the settings in our dimension textile, so we can start dimensioning our drawing. So maybe if we want to dimension this hexagon right here, so we come, it's saying specify first extension line. So the origin of the first extension line, we click on this point. It's saying this specify the second extension line. We click on the second point and we project it out. You see, that is 2.7874 inches. 2.7884 inches. Now this is how it looks on the default dimension, because this is the standard dimension style we use. So this is how it's going to look like. Okay. So this is it for linear dimension. You can come here also, activate linear dimensioning also, and come here to dimension a vertical one. See, that is at 2.1614. The next is aligned dimension. This is aligned here, aligned dimension. It creates an aligned dimension, maybe on an inclined plane, a line that is inclined at a particular plane or at a particular angle. So it's telling us to select the first extension line. We click this point. It's telling us to specify the second extension line. Of course, you can off your auto and click this point. So if you click that point and extend it out, you see it's perpendicular to that particular point you dimension. So if you drop it, that is 2.7874, just like that of the horizontal one here. So that is aligned dimension for inclined planes. So now this is arc length. This is an arc length. So how to dimension an arc. So if you click this, if I click this right here right now, all I have to do is is to create an arc. Let me just create an elliptical arc. Let me create an elliptical arc. Specify first point, specify second point, and the last point. Enter. Alright. So this elliptical arc here, I can dimension it. I can dimension the length and calculate the length of this arc. So it's telling me to select arc or polyline or polyline arc segment. So this is a polyline arc segment. I click on this. Okay, maybe I click on this circle. So I have to create an arc first. I create an arc. There's an arc here. Maybe I use a 3-point arc. 1, 2, 3. So all I have to do is to dimension the arc. I click, it says select arc or polyline arc segment. I select this point, select this arc here. You see, it's dimensioning it. It says 4.293 inches. Away here also you can make the dimension this way and drop it there. So it's showing you the arc length here. That's the length of the arc there. So this here is coordinate. This coordinate, to create coordinates in a particular drawing, different method of creating coordinates on your 2D interface. Now if I click on coordinate, it's saying specify the future location. It's asking you to specify where you want to place the coordinate, where you want the coordinate to start from. Now that is an intersection, an already made drawing I made. The plan of a particular, maybe a block or whatever you call it. So I drop it here. This is an intersection. So when I bring it out, what is it asking me? If I go this way, it's giving me a value 39.9030, east or west. That is for coordinate. This 39.4450 east or west. So and it's giving you the option there for X datum or the Y datum, or M text or text or the angle. So I'm going to use the first one, the X datum. You type X. You see, it's giving you the value for the X datum for that particular point. The X datum, you drop it here. You can drop it wherever you want. When you go to coordinate again, you drop it on the future on the location, and you choose the Y datum right now. You see, it's dropping it the Y coordinate at that particular point. You drop it here. Now also we click on coordinate for other applications. You specify the location you want. Now I want to use M text. We want to use M text for that particular location. We want to use M text. You type M, enter. Now we want to type the particular coordinate we want to place a particular. You say 298 east, 298 east. 298 east, or you say north 298 east. Locate, and you drop it. On your X datum or your Y datum, So that is that. You go to coordinate again. Maybe you want to write a particular text on a particular coordinate. You drop it there and you use the text option. T enter. You write a particular text you want to say. Type B, elevation. Elevation. Okay, and you drop it there. So that is it, how we place coordinates in AutoCAD 2D. So next one, we'll go over to radius. I want to take this off. I want to take that off. I want to take this off also. Take this off. I want to bring a circle. Specify the radius of the circle. I drop it any radius I want. So now I want to dimension the radius of this circle. What I have to do is say select arc or circle. So we select this arc. If we select that arc, you see what it's giving us? That is the radius of the circle. If you want to project it out, you want to keep it inside the radius, depending on how comfortable comfortable you want it to be, as a designer. You bring it out here, bring it out here in form of a leader, drop it here. The dimension is dimension with a leader. We talked about our leader style. So this is radius 3.9629 inches for that circle. They will go for this is jogged dimension. You want to this is jogged. When I click on the jogged dimension here, I click on it, this is jogged. So it's saying I should select an arc or circle. So I have to select the circle because that is the circle I want to dimension. And it's telling me to specify center location. I specify the center location right here. So it's telling me to specify the dimension line location. Specify the dimension. I specify this point as my dimension line location. So it's telling me to specify the jog location. Where do I want to jog it? On the dimension line, I drop it here. So you're seeing. Now if we create an arc, and we want to create a jogged dimension on it, we want to create a jog dimension on this arc. So we want to select the arc or circle. Select this arc. Next, try not to specify the center location. You don't have to select the center of the arc. Select any point. See, if you select any point on the arc, see, it's asking you to specify the dimension line location. The dimension line location, we can drop it here, and it's asking us to specify the jog location. So we can drop it close to the text or far away from the text on the middle part here. Drop it here. Now this is it. This is a jogged no dimension. And here also, this is our the next one here is diameter. The diameter can say select arc or circle. We can select the diameter of this arc. We can select it and project it out. It's saying specify the dimension line location. You drop it somewhere here, wherever is comfortable for you. Now the next one here is the angular dimension. The angular dimension, I did one here. So it's saying we select the arc. We select an arc, circle or line. So we select this point and select this point. You see, this is angle 120 degrees away, angle 120 degrees. Depends on how you want to apply it in a particular drawing you are carrying out. So the next one, we're going to have a quick dimension. We're going to carry out quick dimension. Let me erase this and erase that. Let me erase that. Let me erase this also. Okay. I carry out a quick dimension. If I click this quick dimension, it's telling me to select the geometry to dimension. If I click on this arc and enter, look at what this says. Look at what it says, specify the dimension position line. If I click on this point, see, it has dimensioned that arc with particular radius. Now I want to click on this rectangle, one of these rectangle here. Click on this. I select the second rectangle and I click enter. All I have to do is to specify the dimension line, just like I did for the arc, and I position it. See, that is the particular dimension. We don't have to specify first point or second point, and all that. In this quick dimension, I believe this is going to be a very good tool for people that like using shortcuts in AutoCAD. So the next one is to baseline. Is a continuous linear, angular, or a coordinate system of dimensioning. It can be used for linear dimensioning, angular dimensioning, or for coordinates. In our drafting work, in our 2D AutoCAD work. So it's telling us to select the baseline. After I selected it here, I select this particular baseline I created here. Now what is it saying? It's saying I should specify a second extension line origin. So all I have to do is to specify a second extension line origin. Maybe I want to drop my second extension line here. The third one I want to draw, it's telling me again I should specify second extension line origin. I drop the next one here. The next one I can drop the next one here. The next one I can drop the next one here. So that's why I created this. using this as our base, we created this rectangle and this dimension here, we created this other dimension. You can see it's of different values, different values. So here also you can create another rectangle here. This is for the purpose, so I offset it. I can offset the rectangle. We say 2, enter, in, I select the subject, out also, I enter. So now the next here is a continuous dimension. It starts from an extension line of a previous created dimension. All you have to do is to create, let me just demarcate this line to this point, let me copy this point to this point, to this point, to this point, to this point. We want another line. We want to create a line in between here, drop it at the midpoint here, extend it to this other midpoint. So now we want to create a dimension across it. So all you have to do is use a linear dimension first and create a first dimension here for our first extension line reference. So we'll use this. You see continuous. You see, as we click on the continuous line, it has already used that as the first reference dimension on that particular drawing. So all we have to do is to drop it on a particular point we want. Drop it here. No, we drop it here. We drop it here. We drop it here, and we drop it here, and we enter. Select continued dimension. We enter to ask it if you want more continued dimension. You escape. No, we don't. So we are seeing that the distance between this point and this point are different. The distance between here and here. So the dimension here is from this point to this point will give you 10.7118. This is the dimension for this point, and this is the dimension for this. But why for baseline dimension is this point to this point will give you 15. This point to this other point will give you 30. So that is the difference between baseline and continuous dimension. So we go over to our dimension spacing. So we click on this. Now using this our baseline dimension, we select our baseline dimension. We select the spacing here. So it's telling us to specify to select a base dimension we want to. Specify a base dimension. Select this. Now look at what it's telling us to select dimensions to space. So we use that and we select these dimensions. We want to space them, to a particular maybe distance we want. So when we finish that, you type in enter. It's asking you if you want an auto spacing or you want to enter a value. No, we want to enter a value. We say 2 inches. We enter. You see, the spacing in between the dimensions are 2 inches. So we also try that with continuous dimension here. Also, we click this, select to specify the base dimension. We click this and select these other dimensions. Select these other dimensions. Select these other dimensions. Select this other dimension. When we finish doing that, we'll click enter. Also, we don't want an auto spacing. We'll click 2 for a value. Enter. The spacings are there, but they didn't show. The spacings are there. Let's try it. So we are trying this again. I pushed these dimensions here. I pushed it up and down. It was here, so I pushed this up. So this is at this point, and this is at this point. Now I want the dimensions to be spaced, to be given maybe equal different spaces. So I want to try that for linear dimension. So I want to use this as my base dimension. I select this. I select this. I select this. I select this. I select those. So I have to click enter. If I give a value of let me say 1. Now I can see the distance between this point, this dimension and this dimension here. This is 1. So that is the the spacing. This is one here, and this is one here, and this is one here, depending on the kind of dimension you use as your reference purpose. So that is dimension spacing. That is dimension spacing. So here we're going to try a dimension break. The dimension break, all we have to do is select this. So you select the dimension to add or remove the break. So here we talk about break and dimension break. So we select the break right now. I select the dimension I want to add or remove the break. So let me add this. Let me say this right now. Yeah, let me say this. I select this dimension, and it's telling me to select the object to break dimension. This is the object. This here I want to break my dimension here. I have to repeat that. Sorry about that. So I go to dimension break again, and this object is the dimension I want to break. I have to use the options author, manual, or remove. So if I use author, enter. If I click on this, there is a dimension break somewhere. The dimension break is there. So all I did was push the dimension line back this way. All I did was, this is what it was this way. I undo. So I just select the dimension line, click it from the bottom this way, then push it this way. Then all I'll do now is to create another line. So now I click on dimension break. So this is dimension. I click on the dimension I want to add a break to, and it says select object to break dimension. This is the object I want to break the dimension. Still didn't break. It said that click select object to break dimension. See, there's a break there. That is that break there. And let me do the same thing. This is the break here. I don't know if you notice that there is a break there, here, right there. So I'm going to do the same thing to this other dimension here. Do the same thing to this other dimension here. I click on this. So I click on this dimension. So I want to choose one of these options here. I use author. Enter. See, the dimensions have been broken there. So I want to remove the break. I want to remove the dimension break right now. All I have to do is to click on the dimension. I want to remove the break on and type R, enter. Remember our options. So R, enter. See, the break has been removed. So the next one is tolerance. Tolerance creates geometric and tolerance contained in a feature and control the frame. There are different additions to this tolerance. If you do some major metal work, I want to add some this tolerance, the tolerance 1 and tolerance 2. They have major applications, and all that. So you can add the height for the tolerance. You can add the datum identifier and all that for steel work and maybe surveying work and all that. So if you can create a particular tolerance and add it to any part of your drawing, any part of your maybe a work you're doing. Drop it here. You see, this has a different and particular meaning that that has to do with a particular type of drawing, a steel work or surveying work and architectural work. That's how tolerance works. Now the next one is the center mark. The center mark, I have to create a circle. To create a circle here right now. There's a circle. Then I have to click on my center mark. All I have to do, I select the arc or circle. So I want to select the circle. I select the circle. That brings out the center mark on the circle. Same for an arc. I create a 3-point arc. I click on the center line, center mark. I click on this arc. The center mark, emanates from the object. So that is that. As if you want to use the center line, then you cannot use your line to click on the center line and maybe drop at a particular point you want to. So that is that. So the next one now is inspection. You want to carry out an inspection on a dimension. Maybe you want to add percentages on percentage finishing on a particular line, you know. So you click on this inspection. You go to select a particular dimension you want to add the inspection to. Then we will select this dimension and we'll click enter. So all we have to do is to see if we want to make it an angular inspection tag. You know, you want the inspection rate to be 50%. You want it to be 50%. Want it to be 50%. You know, another we don't want a label. So all we do is OK it. If you OK it, it's going to see this inspection is basically you're telling the maybe the construction personnel or the fabricator that this line is 50% complete and you're not done with this particular line. You know, I know that it sends that message to whomsoever that is reading the drawing, so that they will know what to do on that particular portion of the drawing, either an edge, you know, or whatever. So that is that. So this adds or remove a jog, you know, on a linear dimension. If you click on this, it says select the dimension to add the jog. If you select on this dimension, it says specify jog location. So you press enter. You specify the jog location. Maybe we specify here. You see, that is the jog right there. That's the jog. So you can add as multiple jogs as you want. Add it here. You can add multiple. So if you select on this jog right now, you select on this jog, you can actually stretch it to this other point if you want to. So right now, so this is dimension edit. This is to edit our dimension. The dimension text. To edit the dimension text, if you click on this, you want to edit the dimension, edit the type of dimension you want to edit. Type of dimension. So the dimension edit, click on the dimension edit. Now if we go to new, this is saying we want to create a new value on a particular edge of a drawing. If you click on new, you see the text form is going to come out. Maybe we'll say we want to check this particular dimension here to a new dimension. So all we have to do is maybe change it to 500, okay. So it's not telling you to select the object which you want to change dimension. If you select this dimension, you enter it, see the text there is now 500. So also the dimension edit, if you click on this and you go to rotate, this is saying you want to rotate the angle of the text. If I say 45 degrees, enter, it's saying to select the object. If you select this object and you enter, the text is being rotated 45 degrees. So I undo. So also there is on the dimension, still on the dimension edit, I want to make this particular dimension here, I want to make it an oblique dimension. So I select the object, I enter, then I have to enter the oblique angle. The oblique angle, I want to make it a 30 degrees, inclined at 30 degrees. So you're seeing this line is inclined at 30 degrees, the dimension is inclined at 30 degrees right there. So all I have to do is undo. Undo right now. So the next one is I'm going to talk about the dimension text edit. This is the dimension text. I click on this. So I want to edit this dimension text. I see. I want to move around the dimension. I want to move the dimension text to this other side, to this other way, whichever way I want it. See. I want to move it up. I want to move it down, and all that. So that is that for that. So this is dimension update. If you make particular changes on a particular dimension, you update it with this. So that is that. This is the dimension textile. I think that is that for the dimension exercise. I believe we've gone a long way talking about dimensions. Our next exercise or next video, we're going to talk about annotative. We're going to talk about textile annotative. We're going to talk about dimension style annotative. We're going to talk about hatch annotative, how to apply annotative to a group of drawing and all that. So if there is anything, okay, we will come here to our dimension drop down to. If there is any other thing we have to talk about that we didn't touch in the dimension toolbar, we're going to talk about it as we carry on our drawings in details. So I want you to catch me in my next video. So thank you.